Hello and welcome to the Takeaways podcast. On today's episode, I'm with Lungisa Matshoba, Chief Product Officer at Yoco. We'll be talking about the evolution of Yoco's products over the years, and he will also be sharing more on the recently launched Tap to Pay on iPhone product by Yoco. Hi, good afternoon Lungisa man, and welcome to the Takeaways podcast. How are you doing?
Good afternoon. Thank you. Wonderful to meet you. I'm doing great.
It's so great to have you here, right? I want to start our conversation here. Your first ever transaction at Yoco was in 2014, right? That's 12 years ago, right? Over the course of these years, right? How have you evolved the product? Because now I think you have over like 4 product lines.
It's actually very interesting when it comes to the story of Yoco and our first products and how they've evolved. I think interesting thing for us is the first product we launched, we actually launched 2 products at once instead of 1. And I think it was a very fortunate situation for us where when building our payments product, because we were running on smartphones, we wanted to add something that would help businesses run a bit better. So we built a full point of sale into the app that was being used for payments. And through that process, actually learned a lot, because from day one, people didn't just engage with Yoco as a payments company, they engaged with us as a solution provider, right? Because already they could open our app and start putting in their products and start making sales with a product catalog, etc. And I think that changed a lot about how we started to think about SMEs, because what we got exposed to very quickly is while people may come to you with the problem of payments, very quickly, you need to start helping them to do more with their business, to run a better business and to grow faster. So, and I think that fundamentally shaped our journey as a company, because instead of just seeing ourselves as a payments company, very early on, we saw ourselves as a company that exists to solve business owners' problems. And in many ways, we wanted to be the operating system that helps businesses grow and succeed. And from day one, that was validated as a path that could work for us. So from that point onwards, from there, it really became for us about how do we evolve the product to solve more problems from business owners. And one of the early problems we had, obviously, we had point of sale to solve how you're organized, how you're selling, and how well you understand your business. We then added Yoco Capital, which is once again leveraging the payments entry point to solve how your business can grow by giving you access to loans and capital, where you didn't have to apply. It was you transact and you're given an offer and you press a single button and that money's in the bank account. So once again, it was an evolution from that perspective. And then obviously from there, we started to get into much more of an ecosystem play. We launched Yoco Online, which allow online payments. We started to grow with our range of card machines and additional customer integrations from a point of sale perspective. Today, where we're at, not only do we have a point of sale, we let you record your customers so you know who's coming in and out of the store. We let you send invoices. We let you send payment links. We now have a full point of sale that can sit on top of a counter. We built the hardware end to end and integrated that all with our system. And for us, that's all just the beginning. So I think at the end of the day, the thread for us has always been solve the problems that get in the way of small businesses succeeding. And we're just continuing down that track.
Well, one of the most interesting things I found about you guys is that you want to go beyond just like trying to solve the payments problem, but trying to solve the commerce problem, in that you want to make it like easier to for smaller businesses to do commerce, right? How does this help you to think of the product like in 10 years time?
Look, what's great is that for us is that it's an open playing field, and what we get to ask ourselves is the question of how do we over time continue to improve the success rate of small businesses. And that gives you a very easy 10-year trajectory, because the things that get in the way of small business growth are actually mapped out right before you. We see small businesses at every single stage. So, it starts with the problems that take time away from business owners. So this is the efficiency side of the business, is how do we help you run more efficiently? Think of all the manual work that's involved in running a business in the traditional world. Lots of reconciliations. And every time you're doing a reconciliation, you have an opportunity for errors to be made, right? And those reconciliations are often happening between the money coming in, it's happening with the products being sold from a point of sale perspective, with the inventory side of the company. So what you start to see is you bring that all together and you remove the idea of reconciliation, because you don't reconcile between the same system. The system knows the data, it's fundamentally there. This takes away the burden of time from the business owner. The next challenge you then have as a business owner, once time is back in your hands and your business is running efficiently, is actually how are you going to grow? How do you grow that business? And I think the role we are playing there more and more is giving you customer touch points to help you bring the same customers back into your business. Because what you really want as a business owner is people to buy multiple times and people to increase their basket size as they buy, right? So that's a really key component of growth. The other side of it is making sure that the people who service your customers are extremely happy. This is why we brought out our tipping product integrated into our payment terminals. Was, tips are a key driver of staff happiness, especially in food and bev. So these are really important products that we brought out that increase staff happiness, increase the ability for your business to succeed. So I think that's kind of for us really a key focus area now in the next phase of Yoco is giving you back time and helping you grow. The last part of success is obviously making sure you choose to build the right products and services for your customer. And right now, we can't help you with that, but we can give you the information that tells you what are people buying in your store and what are they not buying. And hopefully through that, you can make the right decisions over time. So for that last bit, what we're able to provide you is insight. And that insight is going to just help you as a business owner make better and better decisions. So for us, it's really run the business better, grow the business better, and understand the business better.
SMEs have a lot of problems, right? And, as a CPO, I think you and the team, are not, like at a shortage of problems to solve. But how do you ensure that you align the problems that you're trying to solve with what, is really going to drive the value of the SMEs?
Look, it's a very important part of what we do, because otherwise you can end up with a lot going on in the solution, but nobody using any of it. And I think what's really important for us is, while the market is fantastic at giving us signals from a problem perspective, what we often try to do is kind of take a step back and look at the problems, look at how they span across different industries, different segments, and actually start to understand like what is the core, the root issue that we're trying to solve. And what you often get to is a much simpler solution than if you just copied what's available on the market today. So we've often found very simple solutions that scale across problems, but are just actually really not that complicated when you look at them, right? So that's been a really important part for us, is like get to the essence of the problem and then understand like what's the simplest thing that's going to solve this problem, which I think when you're trying to cover multiple industries and multiple types of SME is extremely important. Otherwise you can find yourself in the trap of having too many niches in the same product, solving nothing for your base over time. So what we tend to find is outside of the flavors and the nuances, a lot of our solutions end up being fairly common across industry, but have specific nuances layered on top that make it work for that industry. We try to prioritize what impacts the most people in our customer base, and that's extremely important. So even we have now quite a large customer base, we have the ability to very quickly see what's going to solve enough problems at the right value for as many people as possible.
And also, I think like it brings me again to what, like in terms of the tagline, that you're trying to create product that make like a customer feel, like a merchant feel. And I think that goes like a long way in ensuring that you don't just build, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like we want to make sure that your customers are thrilled with the experience, feel like it was frictionless, feel like it was great, feel like they want to come back, right? That's very, very important. And also feel you as the merchant in the experience. This is the little details, like when you get a Yoco card machine and you put it in your store, you can brand it to be yours, right? And it's kind of surprises me that like it's not happening with every machine. Every other machine doesn't let you go, here's my logo, it's pink and it's bright, and I want to put it on your machine so people can see me. And this is extremely important, because as a business owner, you've spent a lot of time choosing the shade of pink in that logo. We want to make sure you can put it on our terminal and be proud of it. So it goes all the way to those little nuances, how you print your receipts, making sure that you get to customize and brand them. Then when we go back to you as the merchant, how you feel, I think, for us, what we really want you to feel like is that it's all under control, right? Because we know there is so much going on, and if we can just give you that feeling that, yes, there is a lot going on, but when you go into Yoco, it's under control. You've got this and you're on top of it because we've made it clean, simple, and easy to understand. Then we have done our job.
I want to speak now on the competitive environment. When you guys started your operations like in 2015, because I think the product like initially came out like in 2014, but operations started in 2015. You were quite like a pioneer in the space, right? But over the last few years, I think we have seen like a couple of like startups, come in either like get card acquiring, etc. How do you try to think of the competition in that? One, how do you like ensure that you stay ahead of the curve? But two, how do you ensure that your quest to stay ahead of the curve does not lead you to pay like too much of the focus on competition, instead of what your consumer is looking for?
Look, I think first of all, we don't spend a lot of time trying to follow competition. We spend most of our time trying to follow our customers and their needs. So you're often not going to see a lot of like, Yoco trying to like do what that other competitor did, because either we've done it already and gotten ahead, or we just didn't think it's what was the right thing to do. And there've been many situations with us where that's happened, where the market has gone left and we haven't gone left. We've said, what, we're fine going right, and we've stuck to it. And actually, often we found that path to the left wasn't worth it. It wasn't the right path, but the whole market was doing it, right? So I think for us with competition, it's important to respect the competition, and we do. But it's also important to understand that you've got to also respect your customers and respect how deeply you understand them. And I think for us, the competitive advantage is understanding our customers and making sure we're building what's right for them. So when we look at the competition in the market, it's kind of funny when you think about payments. I remember in 2014, and when we were trying to go live, everyone was telling us the same thing. They were like, the payments market in South Africa is extremely competitive. How are you going to survive? This was 10 years ago. That was the word. It was like, you're not going to make it. It's so competitive. It's so competitive. I think what it comes down to for me is I've actually realized over the past few years that saturation is the myth people tell themselves to be lazy about innovation, right? That's the reality. So when people go, oh, the market is saturated, is it saturated with X players, or is it saturated with players like you? Because at the end of the day, if you're coming and you are different to the market, then it's not saturated for you. It's saturated for those who are still the same. And I think this is a really important nuance for us. So I think it's always been a thing for me to go, you know what? And I think, if I'm honest, where I get that from, I'll never forget this. Back in the early days, there was, before Yoco, I was in the chat industry. We used to build messaging apps and voice over IP apps, etc. And I remember then, like, people would tell me that market's saturated. Since then, Slack built a multi-billion-dollar business just doing chat. Yet that market was saturated. They came in and they got it right, and they scaled, and there've been multiple people like them. So I think for me, it's just been a realization that like competition is not something that I see as a risk. I see it as an opportunity, because how can every competitor be exactly like you? It means you have nothing unique. You've got to back the unique thing you bring. And for us, the unique thing we bring is a very specific approach to how we solve customer problems, and a very specific passion for small business owners. Like, we have been built and grown through small business. That is who we are, and that is what we love.
I watched like an interview of yours, and you stated quite like an important thing in that when you were starting off, right, the kind of like problem that you looked at was that, like, in South Africa, card penetration is so incredibly high, like compared to Africa, right, or even like compared to the rest of the world, right? But like if you look at the SMEs, right, a lot of them don't have like an ability to be able to accept like card payments, which means that if you try to solve for the delta, like in terms of growth, you can go on and on and on, right? And so like in terms of growth, you are currently at 200K of the merchants and 2 billion, like in terms of the transaction value. How do you see yourselves growing?
So I do those figures. I'll send updated figures. After the call, because I feel like those are figures from a few years ago. But in terms of like how we see growth, I think there's a couple of areas for us. So obviously the one part of growth on our side is obviously this. We still grow every month in terms of number of customers, because there's always new businesses entering the market. So at the end of the day, in South Africa, the recycle rate of businesses is there, unfortunately. It's not like, so every new month there's new businesses, either they're getting started, new ownership, change of management, etc. And if you're an innovator, these are opportunities, because people want a more efficient operation. Every time there's a change of management, you're going to get a more efficient operation, and people are looking for the right solutions, and therefore you get chosen multiple times. So that's obviously a very important area. The other side for us is there's actually still a lot of growth. So today we focus on predominantly 3 segments in the market. It's food and bev, retail, and health and beauty are the 3 sort of top segments that are in our focus lines. Yet there is so much more to South African small business than just those 3 segments. So there is still a lot of room for us to grow. And the reason those segments actually ended up being a lot of our focus is a lot of what we do today is a lot of the businesses we acquire live on the core, I guess, they're the street side businesses, the stores, the shops, those are the vendors, but that is not the vast majority of commerce in South Africa. So there's a lot that we still see for ourselves in terms of growth. I still think there's still a big deficit in terms of card usage when it comes to the more informal side of South Africa. But even in the formal market, like you still have quite a deficit still in terms of like the usage. So we still find businesses that are getting their first card machine today. And I think this is why we're going, cool, can we make it even easier for you to get access to that? Because what often sits in the mind of a business owner, especially if they've been running a particular way for a long time, they go, I'm doing good. What difference is a card machine going to make? So that's one area for us. And then the last leg for us is we are seeing so much growth when it comes to point of sale. And when I point of sale, I mean the solution where you track and catalog your products, your inventory, you have your staff members logging in, etc. And I think this speaks to just the rising maturity of business in South Africa, where more and more business owners are, one, want to get a system that is easy, cloud-based and accessible, but two, are opening their second, third, and fourth store, which means now you can't be in the store dealing with chaos. You need to be able to sit on your phone and understand how the business works from a distance. And this is the advantage of putting a cloud-based point of sale into those businesses. We're seeing a lot of growth in that space. And if I think about it, we first built our cloud-based point of sale in 2017, right? And we saw a good uptake then. But over the past 2 years, the uptake we're seeing, we're going, jeepers, this is a different South Africa. I think people have completely changed their priorities when it comes to how they want to run their business. And now we're seeing that strong uptick in point of sale.
Whilst we're still on the topic of growth, I believe you guys are currently in Botswana in partnership with the Access Bank. If you look at the problem of, of the payments and the SMEs, right? It's, it's a Pan-African problem, right? How do you think of expansion across the continent?
Look, I think expansion for us is becoming obviously an important topic. I think what we've done over the past 12 years, as we see it, is we've invested in a very, very deep product platform with the South African market as our focus. And that product platform now, and this is what we're seeing in the early pilots and alphas and new market entries we're doing, is very applicable beyond South Africa because, as you mentioned before, card penetration in the rest of the continent is not the same as Africa, right? But in the SADC region, there's really good card penetration. But also in the rest of Africa, the other products we've got, like point of sale, are strongly applicable. So I think because we're no longer just a payments company, the expansion opportunities are starting to open up aggressively ahead of us. So we're quite excited about expansion. We think it's a fantastic opportunity for us as a business and an opportunity to leverage the world-class product we built in the world. And that's something that for me is very exciting because I really think we built a world-class product.
As a card-focused company, right, you're competing with cash. And as the saying goes, cash is king, right? How do you plan to dethrone cash in that, it's still quite like a medium, across the continent, across the region, across the world, actually?
Look, cash is king, but the king is getting old. So, I think we'll soon be saying long live the king. But yes, cash is king, but I think it's getting creaky for cash. You're seeing there's multiple markets where you're starting to see an aggressive decline in cash. Africa is one of them. And I think it comes down to the benefits of not using cash. And so when nobody, the argument that as a consumer, you just for the sake of digitization want digitization is never true. You have to be getting something out of it. So you want safety, you want convenience, you want access to credit, you want visibility on your finances, etc. So these are very important things. I think the other thing that's coming quite aggressively for cash, which is really exciting, is that the South African banking environment is heating up amazingly, right? You've gone from, I think historically you had one bank focused on the informal segment and focused on the, emerging segments, etc. Today, everybody's coming in. And everybody coming in is going to be going out there and getting new customers to get into using those cards, those pay shops, etc. So this is what's going to drive digitization, is that you've got all these players now trying to get into the space, trying to re-energize it, trying to make it exciting. And for the consumer, there has to be something on the other end. And quite often the thing on the other end for the consumer, it's going to be convenience, it's going to be lending, it's going to be opportunities to get discounts. It's going to be incentives, right? And incentives drive you to use new payment methods and to move away from cash. So I think we're going to start seeing an increase in adoption when it comes to digital payments, as not just Yoco, etc., but as everybody in the market almost works in a very systematic fashion, even though without any coordination, to dethrone the king, as you say.
I want to get this right. You focus on SMEs, right? But say you start with an SME and they use the, POS, right? And they grow to like a sizable, like business, are you like in the future going to try to like build products for these kind of businesses which are beyond just like the SME kind of the label, or are you just going to like stay to like like your SMEs?
We've always seen ourselves as a company that grows with its customers. I think the reason we've always, and it sometimes it's actually driven a lot by pull as well, because I think if you're bringing a new way of doing things, you don't want that customer now, because they've grown, to have to go back to a traditional institution to receive the service. So it's like, how do I enable my customer to get the benefit of the service no matter what size they are? I think the trick for us has been being smart about what we do to do that. So Yoco doesn't just build its own point of sale. We integrate with many other point of sales as well. So the idea for merchants is, for some merchants, they come with Yoco. Some stick with us all the way, regardless of size. For others, they go, actually, there's very specific needs I have. I'm going to use this other third-party point of sale. For others, they go, you know what? I've gone to your website. I've downloaded your SDK, and I have integrated directly with your services with my own solution. And this is interestingly becoming more prevalent in the world of AI. So we've got our developer documentation available on the internet. People are doing cool things on their own as they grow and scale. And we're very encouraging of this. So it's actually three models. The idea is you can grow with us, you can grow by integrating us, and you can grow by building on us. And all of these give you a better path to success.
The last question before we jump to the tap to pay, right? What role do you see yourself like playing in helping to ensure that, like small businesses play a role in the wealth distribution in South Africa? Because, as an SME, you are based in where you are from, right? So as you grow, then your community grows with you. So what role do you see yourselves playing to ensure that that growth, it benefits the entire, our community of the SMEs that you serve?
So look, there's a couple of things. So I mean, at the stage we're at today, the way we kind of do it is we are a heavy net investor in product offerings, and that's partially designed to continue to invest back in our customers. So you get different types of companies at different stages, and I think for us, we see ourselves as we reinvest all that growth, because we're going, cool, what can we offer to customers that's going to make their lives even easier and make them more successful? So that's the way we're doing it today. Obviously, when you get to a point where you've invested everything and there's still more that you need to invest, and that's a different story. But we're right now at that point where everything this business grows gets invested right back into building better products for the customer. And we're going to be continuing that cycle for the next while, because we think there's a long road before we're done. There's so much that we think we can do that's just going to make it more possible for businesses to succeed. So there's heavy, and I think we've got some exciting things that we're about to bring out to market that speak to exactly this, where for us it's really that push to say, make it easier, make the chance of success higher, and keep reinvesting. Like, take nothing out, reinvest everything in that.
I want to move to the crux of the conversation, right? Why did you decide to launch Tap to Pay on iPhone, and how was that process of trying to launch?
So actually, it's actually very interesting for us. So the idea of using a mobile phone as a payment terminal is an interesting idea. I think what's really exciting about Tap to Pay on iPhone is fundamentally how well thought through the implementation of that idea is. So what I mean by that is that, there you have a phone, but when you use that phone as a payment device, it works in a fashion that is quite consistent with paying on a device. You tap your card on the screen on the front, everyone knows exactly where to tap. It picks up that card immediately, and the payment is processed quickly. Whereas, the antithesis of that is where you don't know where to tap, and people are kind of waving their cards around and don't know how to do it. So for me, the first point was, we looked at this and we said, does it actually create an excellent payment experience? Because for us, that is always a priority above everything else. It's like, are we providing a good experience for people to accept payments? Is it going to be easy? Are they going to understand it? Is it going to work well? And out the door, this works extremely well. And therefore, for us, it passed the first cross to go, cool. Is this something that we want to really like get into market as quickly as we can? So that was the first thing. The second point for us was, devices with Yoco. We've obviously over the past few years driven the cost of devices in the South African market down, right? So now today you can buy a Yoco device for $6.99 on the internet and use that. But the reality is that device still has to be delivered to you, even if it's coming today or tomorrow. So you can't just get up and going immediately with just the installation of apps. That's the first obstacle. The second thing is, even if you have a device, you still have one single point of payment. How do you extend yourself fairly easily? The great thing here is, one, you don't need to buy a new device. So if you operate in the kind of business where you're quite happy to just use your phone because it's just you as the business owner, that is perfect, and you get going with that immediately. If you already have a device, but you're going, hey, I often have situations where the queues are getting long. Now you can take your iPhone and you can start to extend yourself into that and go, actually, I'm going to do a bit of queue busting using that iPhone device that I already have. On top of that, what you also do get is businesses that go, you know what? I'm actually going to have iPhones in the business, whether it's staff members doing remote sales or it's actually physically in the environment that you sell, where you're going actually to the staff members, let's install this so we can extend our reach. And given the costs of iPhones these days not being as astronomical, you get fairly low cost iPhones actually. This is fantastic, right? So I think it comes across all those things for us. The last thing was just, it's been well adopted, and that's exciting. So I think, it's all the things together, but I guess the payoff at the end is when you go, this is fantastic. People are adopting it and they're using it. So I think it really came down to that, but the decision for us came down to, is this a good payments experience? And if it's a good payment experience, does it extend the reach of our customers and does it extend our reach into new customers?
Do you think that, like a prevalence of the software-based payment is going to eventually eclipse POS payments that have, grown quite well over the last few years?
It's going to be a mixture, because I think there are situations today where people should not be using third party. They should be using the hardware they have to accept a payment, right? So I think for those customers, this is going to drop their demand for terminals. I think then there's situations where you want a terminal that's sitting there, a terminal that belongs to the business, or a terminal that's more in a self-service context that no one's going to just go, oh, there's a device, something very context specific. So I think now terminals will do what it makes sense for terminals to do, because now there are alternatives instead of terminals being the only solution. And I think that's good, because I think in many cases you may find that it's more convenient to use a phone, but there are genuine cases where the terminal is just the right solution for the job. I think having more options as a user just means you can choose the one that fits you better. And I think that's what's better. What excites me is no longer people choosing something that isn't working or having to pair something to a phone. Like, it's kind of interesting, like, even though we have terminals that are standalone, right? People still love the terminals that you have to pair. Why? Because if you're an independent, like a tradesman, it's nice to just take out your phone and use that for everything. Now you can still do that. So I think it's just going to depend on the customer and what their needs are.
Aren't you concerned that the prevalence of this payment is going to eclipse the Yoco brand? Because I mean, a Yoco POS, it really stands out. Like you can see it there, like on the counter. But like an iPhone kind of payment, you don't even see if there's like a Yoco product.
I mean, the way I kind of see it is that customers will choose what works for them. If it works better for customers to use that device, it was going to work better for customers whether Yoco did it or someone else did it. So we're going to do it. We're going to provide the market what it needs. That's the problem sometimes with seeing this stuff as like a zero-sum game, is you end up playing a defense game. I don't know. We just don't see it as play defense. Always provide the customers what the customers need and let the customer choose. And if they decide, cool, they want to use tap to pay on iPhone, I'm all for it.
You are the first to launch this in South Africa, right? What does this say about, the maturity of the company and, its ability to be able to use a partnerships with big companies to be able to solve payments problem in South Africa?
Look, it's actually interesting, because for me, it validates a journey of continuous platform innovation that we've had for years now. So for example, when we first launched that Go card machine, it was one of the cheapest card machines in South Africa. And the reason we could do that was because of the deep platform stack underneath that let us integrate a device that had just come out, right? There were no other devices like that available, and we could grab it and integrate it and build it and get it done, etc. When we look at our Android card machines, we're basically the first company in South Africa to go to market with Android-based card machines and say, cool, now you can run full software on your card machine. And that's because of our platform, right? Design a piece of hardware and integrate it into the system, done. And I think the same rings true here. And I think a lot of the time, I guess, when you look at Yoco, you see the SME side, you see the products in customers' hands. What people don't see is the bottom of the iceberg. And so for me, this, being able to get out there as first in the market was really a reality of years and years of deep platform innovation surfacing above the water. You see just a little bit of it, but there's a lot. So we have our own payment switches that have been built in-house. These are things that other companies are not doing to the level that we're doing them. And I guess these are the moments where you get to see them. Otherwise, you don't, right? You just see the working software and the benefits that come with that.
You've been building products for the SMEs for like 12 years now. If there is one or two things that you would say have surprised you about the behavior of the SMEs, which one come to mind?
First of all, the thing I learned in the early days, which we've had to hold on to, is I think back when we were getting started, we had to learn some tough lessons. So we had just gotten started, we were building software, we were trying to move quick, etc. And for the business owner, that store is everything, right? And so we learned that. I mean, if we made a mistake, we'd get an angry call the next day, and we need to go into that merchant's business, understand what's gone wrong, and fix it immediately. So I think it's just an important thing we've had about hearing customers in a way that, I guess, it's such a, you deal with people who are living in that moment, and it needs to be done now. So it's just been a thing that we've had to learn of just the importance and the sanctity of that store. The other part, I think for me with SMEs, the ability to solve for anything. We've seen the most MacGyver things happening in small businesses. It is and it's amazing, and it's because people have to solve it. They can't wait forever, and they've got to get it done. So you will find all sorts of solutions that have been MacGyvered together, which for us we always see as an opportunity to go, okay, cool, how do we un-MacGyver this? How do we make this so you don't have to be MacGyver? You shouldn't have to be MacGyver, but you will see things that you're going, wow, I did not even realize our product could be used that way. That's amazing. So that's been an arm. It's just the innovation of, having to work at that business every single day drives an amazing level of innovation. So I'll argue small business owners are innovative, they're smart, and they're out, they're just getting things done.
We are right in the middle of the AI craze, right? How does it influence how you and the team think of product?
Yeah, so this is interesting. I think it's funny. I think it's good that you use the word hype, because for me, I don't see it as hype at all. I think when you picture tech orgs and all these orgs using it, maybe there's hype. When you picture SMEs, I don't see hype. I see real practical support in an environment where you otherwise do not have a lot of support. Right. So when we engage with customers are using AI today, right, to help them with their businesses, to pull reports that they previously had to wait for someone else to build. And it's a funny thing, because some of this work, neither the person waiting wasn't happy. The accountant who had to build this report at the other end is also not happy, because they're going, I run around building these little reports. That's what I want to do with my time. So everyone's quality of life is going up, because now these reports are being automated. I think where for us it gets exciting is when we say to ourselves, well, what does it look like for AI to move beyond the report? And that's where we're spending our time, is going, cool, important to get the report, and we've got to get there, but what does it look like for AI to literally take the load off? And I think that's the most important thing for us to get right, is how do we leverage AI to take the load off the SME, right? Once again, going back to that pillars I was talking about, the first step that AI has to do is to help you run your business, make it easier, create efficiencies. Then we'll get into how AI helps you grow. But right now we're saying, how do we get to the point where it is automating, it is suggesting, and it is doing more for you as a business owner? And it's genuinely possible to get this right. It is not some long, far-off thing. And I think that's the most exciting part for me about AI.
As we wrap up our conversation, right, do you think that embedded finance is becoming, a central part to how you think of the product that you build in the long term?
Yes. I think, at the end of the day for us, we are a software and technology company. So what we do fundamentally is embed finance, right? So for us, the finance is the feature, the technology is the product. And I think that's the thing that's going to be very interesting, is that today, a lot of traditional financial institutions, they see the finance as the product, right? No, the technology, the ability to leverage AI, the ability to automate, and the ability for you to make my life easier as a business owner, and that is the product, and the finance is a feature. And embedded finance, it is here, it is real. I mean, we've been embedding finance as Yoco for years, and we're going to continue to embed finance.
Get Louis' question. I hope this is not going to like feel like I'm asking you for like trade secrets. But if there's an area that you believe underserved SMEs like in South Africa, which one would you say like you're looking at?
That's a very interesting question. So it's interesting. I mean, I'm seeing some people starting to do some stuff in the space, but when it comes down to it, I still think as an SME, when it comes to, as we said, embedding finance, when it comes to financial services, you are still largely underserved. The amount of work you as a business owner have to do to deal with the financial side of your business is ludicrous, right? You're receiving invoices and messages and notes via all sorts of channels. You then have to, recon this stuff, understand it, make payments to those suppliers, order this, and you can't trust anyone to do any of this stuff. It's you're doing it all yourself. So if I look at the time consumption of business owners, it is ridiculous. I think the next arc is, for any business out there, is how do we save you time? This is it. Like, this is the thing that business owners are struggling with, is you're spending every single day dealing with all of this. When are you actually getting to growing your business? Then the other opportunity I think that's going to start to come up. I think it's interesting for a lot of business owners. Attracting your next customer is also a big challenge, right? So growing. How do I grow beyond where I am today? And this has always been a story. So I think there's also an opportunity there.
As a closing question, I mean, it's been 12 years of doing this. You guys have done like incredible work. What does the future look like, like in terms of growth? Are you on the market for like any, the acquisitions out there? Is there like any product that's coming soon?
There is a lot.
Nice.
I think as a company, you cross these certain marks where your orientation shifts quite a lot. And I think for us, like, getting to this kind of 12 years, 10 is an interesting one because it's this exciting milestone, but it's also an awkward one. Getting to 12, you kind of start to shift orientation. It doesn't become about, the picture starts to clarify, where I see us in many respects as now again, like, I guess Jeff Bezos used to go on about this day zero concept a lot, but I feel that almost every single day here is just this idea that, like, jeepers, like, the world is changing so quickly today that every day you come in, it's a completely new reality, and that's an opportunity. So even these changes in AI, like, for me, the level of energy it gives me to see the kind of things that we can do with AI is just like, it's a brand new day, and it feels like every day is becoming a brand new day, and we want to make sure it's a brand new day for SMEs over the next 10 years. So I think that's, for me, is the reality, and it seems so clear what's coming next. It really excites me.
I would like to congratulate you and the team on like the incredible amount of the impact that you have had. I'm sure the journey to 1 million merchant is going to be quite like an exciting one for you guys. And, I wish you all the best in everything that you'll be doing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Really nice to chat with you today.
Cheers, man.